Slovakia's Prime Minister Robert Fico has met with Russia's President Vladimir Putin in Moscow to discuss the future of Russian gas deliveries. It's a rare visit to the Kremlin by an EU leader since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Fico says Putin confirmed Moscow's readiness to keep supplying gas to European countries. Ukraine says it won't allow that to happen.
Meeting with the EU Council last week, Ukraine's Vladimir Zelensky could have not made it any clearer. We will not continue the transit of Russian gas. We will not give them the opportunity to earn additional billions on our blood. Any country in the world that could receive something cheap from Russia, in the end, tomorrow, in a month, in a year, will become dependent on the Russian Federation. This is their policy. That's why we won't transit Russian gas anymore. Ukraine, reeling from constant Russian attacks, says it will shut down its pipeline. A transit contract between Russia's Gazprom and Kiev won't be renewed. It's a massive problem for Slovakia. The landlocked country gets all its gas from Russia and, lacking any other options, continued to do so throughout the war with express permission of the EU. The 27-nation bloc granting an exception to its Russia sanctions to avoid an energy crisis for its member state Slovakia. Slovakia's prime minister was combative, saying if anyone is going to cause enormous economic damage to the European Union, it is President Zelensky. He has called the shutoff absurd. Critics argue that Fico's visit to Moscow was unnecessary. After all, Putin agreed to sell gas to Slovakia, but the country can't get it without Ukraine's say-so.
Our correspondent Christine Munwa in Brussels is covering this story. Christine, what more can you tell us about Fico's meeting with Putin?
Well, Terry, Robert Fico is the third EU leader, only the third EU leader to visit Moscow since the invasion began in 2022. So that in itself is telling. It is official EU policy to isolate Moscow diplomatically and in all other ways. Now, he's put out a statement. He also published it on his Facebook account. And he says the reason for his visit was the answer that Volodymyr Zelensky gave last week to a question he asked him directly about this transit deal. This is an agreement in which gas from Russia is transported through Ukraine to European countries like Slovakia, Hungary and Austria, who are still using this gas. It was clear from that meeting and statements that the Ukrainian president made afterwards that Ukraine was no longer interested in extending or renewing this agreement. And so that now throws into question how this gas that comes from Russia will get to countries like Slovakia. So he put that statement out. He also said that they discussed bringing the war to a peaceful end. But what he really says was the instigator for this visit was the issue around gas supply going into the future.
As you mentioned, Christine, Ukraine has indicated that it does not intend to extend the gas deal with Russia for those transit pipelines that go through the country. How will this affect European countries that still rely on Russian gas?
Yes, Harry, this is no doubt going to be, it would have a significant economic impact. A number of countries have since cut off Russian gas supply. They are no longer importing gas from Russia, countries like Germany and Poland, and this has come at a significant cost. Russian gas is much cheaper than the alternatives that are on the market, and there had been an exception made for a certain number of countries when the European Union was taking steps to sanction energy imports from Russia, and countries like Slovakia were part of those exceptions or those exemptions, so to say. There are alternatives. In fact, a number of studies and reports have been commissioned. For example, there are LNG alternatives. Germany, Poland and others have LNG terminals. There is also the question of a different kind of deals where the gas is not Russian gas, but gas from Azerbaijan. But I think the moral of the story is this would come at a significant economic impact for the countries that are affected, and that is what they are trying to get around. But in the case of the Slovak Prime Minister, you will hear the reaction from Kyiv accusing him of essentially trying to help Moscow in all of this. Ukraine's motivation for no longer continuing this arrangement is that it's benefiting Moscow. Even though Ukraine itself has been benefiting financially, Ukraine is paid a transit fee for allowing the passage of this gas. Last year, that was something to the tune of $800 million US. So Ukraine now says it's no longer interested in helping Moscow in any way possible, even if it means forfeiting this revenue. And it says that countries like Slovakia are helping Moscow, but are also endangering European security. So it is one of those toss-ups, and there'll be very little sympathy, I think, for countries like Slovakia, especially when others have taken the difficult decision to cut off that cheap Russian gas and pursue more sort of costly measures. So that is how it stands at the moment now. So the question is, going into the new year, what happens? Because the Ukrainians have indicated that they will not be renewing this agreement.
Christine, thank you very much. Our correspondent, Christine Munwa in Brussels.